easy this is going to be to a lot of fun.
And I was invited because she it's really cool.
Thank you so much for coming here today to the Swarovski Creative Workshop and the fantastic panel discussion that we will see later. I wanted to congratulate all the costume designers and art directors and set designers that have worked so hard this year. Certainly also want to congratulate all the nominees for this year's Oscars. And at Swarovski, we certainly understand the blood, sweat, and tears that happen behind the scenes. And we're continuously amazed about the beautiful creations that we end up seeing on film.
You know, I can't begin to tell you what a great thrill and a great honor it is to be here today, Nadia, to thank you personally for hosting this wonderful event and for being such an extraordinary friend and partner to the UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television. We really should give her a round of applause. Thank you, Nadia. Our great benefactor, David C. Copley, who is sitting right here in the front row with, thank David. You know, David, thank you for your vision and the magnificent gift of the center, which under Deborah Landis's brilliant leadership is truly positioned to become the most important center for the study of costume design in the United States, and if I could go so far, perhaps in the world. You know, David, you've made it possible for remarkable new talent to be nurtured and to have the chance to shine and succeed in ways not imagined before. Let me take this moment to acknowledge Deborah Landis, who is simply the perfect choice to become the founding chair and director of the David C. Copley Center for the Study of Costume Design. Through her vision, her energy, leadership, enthusiasm, great wit, talent, artistry, and sheer brilliance, she has brought the dream and the promise of the center to life with a vibrancy and an excitement not to be matched.
I'd like to introduce Ellen Moroznik, the designer of Wall Street and Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, Basic Instinct, Starship Troopers. Oh, we got to find your card. And then Danny Glicker. Danny Glicker is the designer of Milk, Transamerica, Up in the Air, and his upcoming credits are Restless, directed by Gus Van Sant, and On the Road, directed by Walter Sales. Ariane Phillips, the designer of Walk the Line, A Single Man, and The Crow. She has, she designed this year a movie called W.E. coming out next year, or maybe later this year.
Hopefully later this year.
Directed by Madonna. It's called W.E. It's about the love affair between the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. Mark Bridges. Mark Bridges designed The Fighter this year. And There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, Boogie Nights. And look, he has two movies coming out, something called Everything Must Go and The Artist, which is a black and white silent film for French director Michael
Hazanavicius.
Hazanavicius, thank you very much. Sandy Powell. Sandy Powell this year designed Tempest, but also Shutter Island, of course, Young Victoria. And she just finished working on a huge picture with Marty Scorsese called Hugo Cabret, which was all shot in 3D. Interesting. Jenny Bevan. Miss Jenny Bevan, designer of The King's Speech, but also Gosford Park and Sense and Sensibility. And of course, are you finished finally with Sherlock Holmes?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, they've stopped paying me, but that doesn't mean I don't.
Okay. So she has, Sherlock Holmes she designed the other Sherlock Holmes and also Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows. And finally, we're delighted to welcome Antonella Canarazzi, the designer of I Am Love. So the question is, how has costume design changed recently, maybe from even the last couple of years to this year, and then how is it likely to change in the future?
I think for me, a really interesting example of how much it's changed even the past couple of years was When I worked on Milk, which was a really research-heavy movie where I had tons and tons of documents of research in timelines, I was carrying around huge boxes of binders of everything in chronological order with all of the, annotated research. And then when I just did On the Road, which is us, it takes place in the 40s, and it's every different kind of world. It's, migrants, it's jazz musicians, it's a lot of Midwestern people. So we really had to create a ton of research, but instead of gathering the stuff and putting into books, my assistant designer, Michelle Short, and I put it online. And it was a really incredible tool because the idea with the research is not to hoard it, it's actually to use it as a communication device. And by creating these incredibly elaborate libraries that were very, very carefully organized online, I would share them with everybody. Every single person involved with the show could access my research, and actors with one line were given the website, and the production designer was given the website, and we would come to set on background days, and the background hair designers would have printouts from my research, and they would have created their own boards from my research. And I was happy to share it because that way I knew that our work was being shared with everybody, and it really did help clarify the vision for the overall look of the movie. And I really do think that that was a good example of sort of like how technology is really benefiting us in terms of communicating our vision.
Does anybody else do that? Has
Yes.
anybody else done that? Have you done it?
Yes.
Incredible. And is that was that part of the production's website?
No.
Just you did it yourself?
Well, what really started was the director, Walter Salles, is Brazilian, and in my original conversations with him, I was communicating with him in Brazil. We were having Skype conversations, and I wanted to be able to have a shorthand with him, so I started out, assembling my research the old-fashioned way and creating books. And then once I realized I had to start communicating with him in Brazil, we just created a huge online library, and the library went from hundreds and hundreds of images to thousands and thousands of images, and it was. But what's so interesting is it's so easy to navigate because the images are down to, it'll literally be Midwestern waitresses, 1948. It's like that specific.
Right.
So,
and you put all the hair and makeup together, of course.
yeah, I mean it's all there, and so that it was an organic offshoot of just needing to communicate with my director in Brazil, but it ended up being amazing because we were traveling to so many different countries. I never was carrying around boxes.
No paper.
It was amazing, and I think for me the real value is it's like we would have a lot of really great actors like Amy Adams came in and she worked on the movie for 2 weeks, but she wants to know what the world is that she's entering. She doesn't just want to know who she is in that world. So she can go into that research and just kind of understand the entire context.
I think for a designer, the most wonderful thing is when it's a collaboration. I mean, it is not fashion. I went to the Escada show the other day because I was introducing their screening. Watching the models was really instructive. They're completely blank and bland, and it's all about the clothes. Ours is the other way around, in my opinion. It's all about the person and how they become the characters. So the worst thing you can have is an actor who just stands there while you dress them up. And it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, Helena Bonham Carter is a case in point. I have known her for a very, very long time. And there's something about her, even when she was exhausted at the end of the day, she'd come to fit at Cosgrove at 7:30 in the evening on her way back from Harry Potter with bits of Bellatrix still attached. And we would, for a minute, we'd just stop, we'd have a cup of tea, we'd have a laugh, she'd show us some daft app on her iPhone, whatever, talk about the kids, and then we'd start putting clothes on her. And I watched this absolute transformation happen. And often it was about the hats, even though the hair was wrong, because it was her mad, normal, after Bellatrix wig hair. But you started to see it, and she started to see it, and it is that thing when they say, now I know who this person is, that your whole world lights up. I mean, way beyond. And that's why I don't draw. I have no interest, and they look lovely, costume drawings. The ones that keep appearing in some paper done from the still photographs by someone. I was told I needed costume drawings. I said, okay, if you really want to pay for them, up to you. And somebody's done quite nice drawings, but that's what they are, nice drawings. They're nothing to do with my work, but it is that organic process where, whether it's Robert as becoming Sherlock Holmes, you know, or Helena or whatever. That's
Mark,
wonderful.
I really want to ask you because Mark designed The Fighter, and Christian Bale went through this incredible transformation. Can you just talk about how that hunk Christian Bale turned into that crazy guy in The Fighter?
You know, he's very tied to his physical. He's lost weight for other roles and things. So, you know, I always say this, but I start at the bottom and work up. And if they feel grounded with their feet, I guess it's from stage work or something, that the actors always, if they felt like their shoes were good, half the job was done. And there's a scene in the beginning, he's doing road work and he's wearing these boots. We spoke to road work people in town there, and they said, oh yeah, he could wear boots or sneakers, and Christian wanted to wear boots because he had to run later on when he was late for HBO. And you know, we had to make sure that he could run in those heavy boots, you know. And he's the one who suggested these really strange balloon pants. He was like, do you have any of those elastic waist pants? And they're most hideous garments, but they really nailed that early 90s look. I think you remember back when it was quite common. So I personally reacted, and there was also kind of a moment. My second fitting with Melissa Leo,
Yes, I was going to say.
was when that giddy feeling came over me. I get like a kid in a candy store when I start to see somebody else is here that wasn't here when we started. And you know, she really took on, and they start to move differently and pose differently and imagine scenes in the film. I love to keep all my fitting photos I have some from 20 years ago. And when they start to pose like their character, you know you've done it. And I get really giddy and like a kid in a candy store.
And I really want to ask, who's playing Wallace Simpson? And how did you make her into Wallace Simpson?
Well, Andrea Riseborough is playing Wallace Simpson, and she's a West End theatre star in England. And wasn't it all, Madonna wanted to cast a 40-year-old woman to play, actress to play the part, and Andrea's much younger. And she's extraordinary. She was in a BBC film about early years of Margaret Thatcher. She was amazing. And Andrea is she was really, really generous and really hardworking, because we did so many fittings. The Duchess has almost 60 costume changes in our film. So, and they're all very quick, of course, because nothing really lasts for a long time because our scenes are short. But she was amazing. She took a lot of care doing her hair and makeup. She wouldn't do any photos unless her hair and makeup was done. And she's a very physical actress as well. And I worked with Christian. That's one of the amazing things about his transformation. And she's very much the same way. And we started with the shoes as well, which are quite challenging because shoes from the 30s that exist, and then we also had shoes made, and just getting that right. But she was amazing. She really transformed in the fittings. And I mean, the thing that I would say about fittings is it's the drug. When it happens, it's the drug that keeps me coming back, and that is the euphoria.
It's the money.
I don't know about that, but it is really the, as cliche as it sounds, it's the magic, and it's really intimate, and it's what I love. I love the collaboration and what's happening in that room, and so for me, that's.
Thank you, Sandy. You work with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he changes amazingly. What happens with Leo?
Oh goodness, I don't know what. The story I was going to tell was about Daniel, actually.
Go ahead,
Daniel
go
Day-Lewis
ahead.
instead
Yes.
of Leo. It's an
Do
easy
it.
one, really, in terms of what happens in a fitting. When we were doing Gangs of New York, I met Daniel, and his first idea about the Bill the Butcher character was that he was grimy and dirty and sort of scary looking. Marty's idea was different. He wanted him to look like a peacock and be dandified. So, having had the meeting with Dan, and he wanted one thing and then Marty wanted another thing, I had to sort of make we actually built some costumes to try on along the dandy guideline. And he wasn't sure about it, but we had that moment where he put it on and he said, "Oh, you'll be all right, this works." And it is just that, it's that fantastic moment where it comes together. And that, for me, the fitting room is where you do designing. It's not, I mean, I do draw, actually, I do sketches and mess around with myself, but it's not that bit, it's not the research bit, it's actually when you're in the fitting room, everything you thought it could have been could go out of the window. It could completely change, it could be completely different. You could just sort of pull something over there that you weren't thinking of and put it on and go, "Oh my God, that's it, that works." It's that moment, and that's design. That's it.